We interrupted an important experiment in progress.
I am Chucky.
Pennywise the ends.
You will get you
I want to play a game.
Hello everyone, Joshua Myers here, and welcome back to my 31 Days of Halloween Review series, and today we are going to be continuing on with my Texas Chainsaw Massacre franchise review series with the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 from 1986.
13 years ago, audiences across America were horrified by the brutality of a faceless killer. Now, after more than a decade of silence, he has come out of hiding. Texas Chainsaw Massacre Part 2, directed by Tobe Hooper. Starts tomorrow at theaters everywhere.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 stars Dennis Hopper, Bill Moseley, Caroline Williams, and is directed by Tobe Hooper. Plot of Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 is that for a decade, Texas Ranger Lefty Enright has sought to avenge the brutal murder of his kin by the cannibalistic Sawyer family, Leatherface, Chop Top, the Cook, and Grandpa. With the help of a radio DJ played by Caroline Williams, who's also bent on putting an end to the terror, Lefty finds his way to the Sawyer's underground butcher's shop, where a battle of epic proportions soon rages, and the line between good and evil gets chopped to bits. Now, before I get started on this review, I would like to say is that I have reviewed this movie before. In fact, this was the first Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie I've ever reviewed, and that was back over on my main channel at Blood Moon Productions. And check out my main channel if you haven't. It was a while, and I think when I reviewed it, I was really sick. I was really sick. Like, I had something going on. My voice was beyond hoarse. Let's say that. It was beyond hoarse. And not that too, again, it was in my older style. And I didn't really have much to say about the film, because I just watched it for the first time when I reviewed it. But now, I am back at it again, and I'm reviewing it for the second time after rewatching it for who knows how many times at this point. Let's move on to my thoughts, shall we? Now, the one thing I will say about this film is that this is a either you love it or hate it film. And the reason for that is the tonal shift, actually. Now, Tobe Hooper does claim that this was in kind of within tone of the first movie, because apparently his first film was this tone. I didn't personally get that vibe from the first movie, but it is a different tone. It has much more of a dark, it's much more of a dark comedy than it is an actual like psychological suspense horror film like the first one was. At least how I view the first one, and a lot of other people. So going into this is a either love it or hate it film, and honestly for me, I ended up loving it. I love the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, and for a lot of the same reasons, you know, that like for one, I love that it's a different tone from the first film. It doesn't try to rehash the first film with its story, in that I really dig the story. I actually do really like the characters here. I like Lefty, played by Dennis Hopper. I liked him. Thought he was a great character. I loved Stretch, played by Caroline Williams. Thought she was a great character, and honestly, a great final girl, as you could call her. I even liked a lot of the Sawyer residents, like Drayden Sawyer. I especially love Chop Top. I mean, who does not love Chop Top? I mean, seriously, who doesn't love him? Played by Bill Moseley. Honestly, Bill Moseley has become a mainstay in horror because of this film, and because of his role as Chop Top. While, again, it is not a horror film, in fact, there is a bit of a, like, it's not only a comedy film, but also has a bit of a love story. Mostly because Leatherface falls in love with the character Stretch, and I kind of like that aspect, and I don't mind that they try to humanize Leatherface. I mean, especially in this one, because it was going for a different tone. Tobe Hooper was going for a different tone. Apparently this was always the tone. I don't think so. I respect Tobe Hooper, but I will say I just don't see the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre as a dark comedy whatsoever. This one is a dark comedy. And that's another thing too. It's funny. the film is funny. Like, I've actually laughed at a lot of the jokes or the type of humor that Tobe Hooper goes for. To be fair, I am a dark, twisted son of a bitch with that, you know. My humor is very dark and twisted. For anybody who knows me, they know that I have a really dark sense of humor. This film worked for me a lot. I also like this, like, a lot of the, like, visuals of this film, too. Like, it's more vibrant, more colorful than the first film is actually. And I even love some of the sets. I especially love, like, basically at the finale of the film, like, where the last act takes place, which is at this Texas, almost like kind of amusement park thing. And it's lit really well. It's all colorful. And it's just a fun looking set, actually. I'm not gonna lie, it looks fun. Also, the practical effects in here are also pretty good too. Gore effects are good. Just all the different stuff you would see in a Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie is good. The pacing of the film is really good too. This film clocks in at 1 hour and 41 minutes, and it does not feel like that. It moves pretty fast, but not fast enough. Like, okay, it's like the perfect balance. Okay, you're not definitely going to, like, it's not like you're going to feel like you're sitting through a 2-hour long movie or something like that. This is exactly an hour-long movie, and it feels like that. And honestly, that's about it I could say in regards to things that I liked about the film. I do have one thing I'm honestly mixed on, so let's get right into it. Now, this is a bit of a nitpick, I guess, but for me personally, there's not much of any bit of music. Now, to be fair, the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre didn't have much music either. In fact, barely any at all. So, I guess it fits with this, but, I mean, since it being a film that came out in the 80s, I would have loved to see, and for it to be this drastically different tone from the first film. Again, no matter what Tobe Hooper says, I still think it's drastically different from the first film tonally. Like, it could have used more, like, kind of like music. There is a bit of music, which is more than what the first film has. It's very much like this dun 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 dun. But yeah, that's really honestly a nitpick, like a very small nitpick. And honestly, I don't have anything that I absolutely hate about this film, so let's move on to my rating. So with that said, I'm going to give the Texas Chainsaw Massacre Part 2 a 4.5 out of 5 stars. Now, I really enjoy this film. Like, it's one of my favorites. Now, which do I like better, this one or the original? I will say on a cultural, like, okay, for an actual horror film with a cultural impact, the original beats this by a long shot. But if you just want a fun, just straight up fun, horror, like dark horror comedy with these characters, then this is the film for you. And it depends on what mood I'm in. If I'm in the mood to be scared, I pop into the original. If I'm in the mood to just have fun and even laugh at times, I pop in this one. So, and again, this is going to be either you love it or hate it film. And for me personally, I love it. So that's it for this review. Thank you guys for watching, and lick my plate, you dog!